Hi there, Mr. Holcomb here with another episode of The Math Behind the Modules. This is Lesson 5, Writing and Solving Linear Equations. Okay, example 1. One angle is 5 degrees less than 3 times the degree measure of another angle. Together, the angles measures have a sum of 143 degrees. What is the measure of each angle? Now, it's not necessary to draw a picture, but I will do that this first time. I just want to give you an idea as to what is going on here. So right here, I drew a line segment. I put a dot here. That's where my vertex is going to be. So I'm going to put my protractor right on there, and I'm going to come over to 143 degrees. So starting here, 0 all the way over to 145 is here, over 2 more. 143 is approximately there. Okay, so I'm going to move this over here now. Get my ruler, bring that down, and actually what I could have done is use my ruler as a compass or protractor because it has a degree measure in here. So 143 is also 43, or no, 37. So that should get me a line from my, yeah, it does, right there. That is it, right there. Okay, so now I'm going to erase this. So there is an angle measure that's 143 degrees. So what they're saying is we are going to draw another line somewhere. We're not going to be concerned with the angle measure now, but if I drew a line here, what they're saying is these two angles, okay, one angle and this whole thing is 143 degrees. It's asking what the measure of each angle is. So this green line has to, this green ray, I should say, has to go somewhere. These are rays as well. And that will determine these two angle measures. And that's what we're trying to do. So we know the two angles add up to 143, we just don't know what each angle is. But they do tell us in algebraic terminology, one angle is 5 degrees less than. Less than means minus, 5 degrees means 5 degrees, 3 times the degree measure of another angle. 3 times some degree measure of another angle. Now, in prior lessons, the word less than tells us to read this statement from right to left. So that is going to be 3x degrees minus 5 degrees. Okay? One angle is 5 degrees less than 3 times the degree measure of another angle. Together, the measures of these angles have a sum of 143. So the other angle is going to be some unknown degree. So 3 times 5 less than 3 times this angle is what this is all saying. So there's my algebraic expression. Now I'm going to create it as an equation because we were told that the total is 143 degrees. So if this is x, then this one is 3x minus 5. That's all this is saying. So these two angles add up to 143. So I combine like terms, and that is 4x minus 5 degrees equals 143 degrees. I guess I could have a degree symbol here too. All right, SADMAP says to add 5 to both sides. Okay, draw a line under here. 4x goes here. Negative 5 plus 5 cancels, leaving me 4x equals 148 degrees. And then finally we divide both sides by 4 to find the value of x. And 4 goes into 14 3 times, 4 goes into 28 7 times. So x is 37, actually x is 37, x degrees is 37. All right, so that means that this is 37 degrees. And then I take that 3x minus 5 and substitute in that 37 to find the measure of the other angle. So 3 times 7 is 21, carry the 2. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, minus 5 is 106 degrees. Okay, so this equals 106, and this equals 37. So this green arrow would have to move down. And I could actually do that with my protractor now and move it. So then if I put this here, I want an angle measure at 37 degrees. Well, 35 is here, 37 is right about there. Okay. So if I move this, and then of course I could have just done this 37 and put this here. So the green line that I drew was just an approximation to draw a picture, but the actual one would be here. So then this one would go away. So this would be the actual representation of our problem exactly. So this is 37 degrees and this is 106, totaling 143 degrees. Okay? But again, we did not need this diagram. I just wanted to explain to you what was happening in this algebraic equation. Okay, here in example 2, we're given a right triangle. Okay, I'm not going to be as fancy this time with straight edge and all that. I will just draw a quick little diagram of a right triangle. So there it is. That is a right triangle. Find the degree measure of the angles if one angle is 10 degrees more than 4 times the degree measure of the other angle and the third angle is right. So we're trying to find this angle here and this angle here. I'll just call them 1 and 2. So it says find the degree measure of the angle if one angle is 10 degrees more than 4 times the degree measure of the other. Okay, so I now know that angle 2 is going to be x, and angle 1 is going to be 10 degrees more than 4 times the degree measure of that. Now notice it says more than. That means to write it this way. 10 degrees more than 4 times that degree measure of the other angle. So angle 1 is 4x plus 10 degrees. Okay, so if you remember a theorem we use, since we know this angle is a right angle, then these two angles, since there are 180 degrees in a triangle, and 90 degrees is one of them, the other two have to add up to 90, and that's called complementary. So I now know that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90 degrees. And then I substitute in my givens. So angle 1 is 4x plus 10. And the measure of angle 2 is just simply x equals 90 degrees. 4x plus x is 5x plus 10 equals 90 degrees. Okay, all I did was combine my... Okay, I thought that looked funny. Let's just fix this. I forgot my plus sign. 4x plus 10 degrees. So 4x plus x is 5x. Plus 10 equals 90. Subtract 10 degrees from both sides. And 5x equals 80 degrees. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. These cancel. X equals 5 goes into 8 once, remainder 3. 5 goes into 36 times. So x equals 16. Okay, so we have to get out of the habit of stopping when we find a value of a variable. What you need to do at this point is go back and read the question, and what is it asking? Find the degree measures of the angles. So now I would say, since I know this piece right here, now I'd say the measure of angle 2 equals x. The measure of angle 1 equals 4 times 16 plus 10, which equals 64 degrees plus 10, and so therefore the measure of angle 1 equals 74 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 is 74, the measure of angle 2 is 16. Now always check, is 74 plus 16 90? And the answer is yes. Okay, exercise 1. For each of the following problems, write an equation and solve. So see if you can do these on your own. Pause the video. When you think you have the right answer, come back and we'll check them. So number one, a pair of congruent angles are described as follows. So the first thing I'm going to do is write the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. The reason I can say that is because of the word congruent. A pair of congruent angles. If they're congruent, their angle measures are equal. So I have the measure of angle 1 equal to the measure of angle 2. Now we're going to describe what the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2 are. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 1 equals, the degree measure of one angle is 3 more than twice a number. More than means to add. More than tells you to read right to left. 3 more than twice a number. So the measure of angle 1 is 2x plus 3. The measure of angle 2 equals, and the other angle's degree measure is 54.5 less than 3 times the number. So less than is minus. We're going to work right to left, 3 times the number. So 3x minus 54.5. So there are my two expressions, and now I know that they're equal because they're congruent. So now all I'm going to do is take the measure of angle 1. Okay. Let's get rid of this. That was just writing, that was my 1 here. So there's my measure of angle 1, 2x plus 3. It is equal to this. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this down here. So 2x plus 3 equals 3x minus 54.5. Okay, I don't like working with negatives, so I avoid them at all costs. So what I'm going to do here, 3 is more than 2. If I subtract 3 from 2, I get a negative. So I'm going to move my x over here because 2 is less than 3. So minus 2x. Minus 2x. And when I do that, my x's cancel, and I get 3 equals 3x minus 2x, or just simply 1x, or x, minus 54.5. To get rid of that 54.5, I will add it to both sides. Okay, so 3 plus 54.5 is 57.5 equals x. These cancel. Okay, so now I know the measure of angle 1. Now let me move this over here, because what is it saying to do? I found x. Did it say find x? No. It said determine the measure of the angles in degrees. So I'd take the measure of angle 1 equals, that's this 2x plus 3. I'll just rewrite that again. Substitute the measure of angle 1 equals 2. My x was 57.5 plus 3. The measure of angle 1 equals 2 times 5 is 10. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And it's 115.0, and let's just not put the 0.0. And then it's going to be plus 3. So the measure of angle 1 equals 118 degrees. Okay, I don't want to just stop there, even though I know they're congruent. The measure of angle 2 is 118 as well, but this is a place to check to see if we did it correctly. So I'm going to write 3x minus 54.5 is the measure of angle 2. So therefore the measure of angle 2 equals 3 times 57.5 minus 54.5. So the measure of angle 2 equals 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2, plus 1 is 22. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. Don't forget the decimal place. Minus 54.5. So the measure of angle 2 equals 0.5 and 0.5 is 0. 2 minus 4, I need to take away from the 7 and make that 12. Minus 4 is 8. 6 minus 5 is 1 and 1. And sure enough, the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. Okay, number 2. The measure of one angle is described as 12 more than 4 times. Okay, so let me stop right there. Change colors here. 12. 12. More than. Plus, and read right to left. 4 times some number. Okay, that is angle 1. So the measure of angle 1 equals 4x plus 12. It's supplement. Keyword here, supplement is when two angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay? Its supplement is twice as large. Okay? So I just take this and multiply it by 2. So the measure of angle 2 equals 2 times 4x plus 12. Okay? Angle 2 is twice as 1, so we multiply it by 2. And they're supplements, so that means they add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to take the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees. And that is my formula that we're trying to solve. And now I'm going to plug in the values that I came up with. The measure of angle 1 is 4x plus 12 plus the measure of angle 2, which is 2 times 4x plus 12 equals 180 degrees. Okay. 4x. So the first thing I want to do is the distributive property. Multiply 2 times 4x and multiply 2 times 12. That will give me, this will stay the same, 4x plus 12 plus 2 times 4 is 8x, 2 times 12 is 24, and that equals 180 degrees. I'm going to combine like terms now. I've got a 4x, I have an 8x, that is 12x. I have a plus 12 and a plus 24, that's a plus 36, equals 180 degrees. I'm going to subtract 36 degrees from both sides, and I'm going to get 12x equals, because these cancel, 8 to 7, 10, 4, 4, 1. 12 divided by 12, 144 divided by 12, ran out of room, x equals 12. That's my x. It did not ask for x, it said find the measure of each angle in degrees. So now I'm going to go back, and the measure of angle 1 equals 4 times x plus 12. So the measure of angle 1 equals 48 plus 12. So the measure of angle 1 equals 60 degrees. Okay? Now I'm going to do the measure of angle 2. So I'll just do it right here because this is already written here. Then I would say the measure of angle 2 equals 2 times 4 times 12 plus 12. Measure of angle 2 equals, PEMDAS first, 4 times 2, 4 times 12 is 48 plus 12. The measure of angle 2 equals 2. Remember PEMDAS first, parentheses first, now add 48 and 12 is 60. So it's 2 times 60. So the measure of angle 2 equals 120 degrees. I did this because I want to make sure my equations are correct. I could have stopped here and been lazy and said, okay, if one is 60 and the other one's twice as big, I'm just going to multiply this by 2. But I always want to check to make sure my equations are set up properly and solved properly. Okay. Okay, moving along, here's number 3, a triangle has angles described as follows. The measure of the first angle. The measure of angle 1 is 4 more than, reading right to left, 7 times a number. So 7x plus 4. The measure of the second angle, the measure of angle 2 is 4 less than, reading right to left, the first. So that would be 7x plus 4 minus 4. Okay, and the measure of the third angle, the measure of angle 3, is twice as large as the first. So that's 2 times the measure of angle 1. So here's angle 1. So it is 2 times 7x plus 4. So there are our 3 angles. So I'm going to keep this color-coded this time. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure. Let's make this black in between. Plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals a triangle, 180 degrees, triangle sum theorem. So these 3 add up to 180. Now I will substitute in what I found by reading the problem. 7x plus 4 plus the measure of angle 2 is 7x plus 4 minus 4 plus the measure of angle 3. 2 times 7x plus 4. And that all equals 180 degrees. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms. 7x, but before I do that, I need to distribute this. So I'm just going to write this now in purple. 7x plus 4 plus 7x plus 4 minus 4 plus 2 times 7x is 14x, and 2 times 4 is 8, equals 180 degrees. Now I'll combine like terms. 7x plus 14x. 7 and 7 is 14, and 14 is 28x. Plus 4 is a constant. Plus 4 minus 4, and plus 8. Well, the plus 4 minus 4 will cancel, so 4 plus 8 is 12, equals 180 degrees. Okay, so let's move this over here. I like to try to keep my equal signs lined up so it's less confusing. So there it is, 180, 180, 180, equals, and this is now slimmed right down to a nice 2-term on the left. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, and I get 28x equals, and 180 minus 12 is 168 degrees. Divide by 28 on both sides, and I ran out of room, so I'll come up here and I get these 28s to cancel, so x equals 168 divided by 28, and is that 5? 6. Let's try 6. So over here I'll do this. 28, 168. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 4 is 16. No remainder, so x is 6. Okay. Great. What is the measure of each angle in degrees? Okay. So now I'm going to extend the page a little bit. I'm running out of room. All right, so now what I'm going to do is take the measure of angle 1, which is 7x plus 4. So the measure of angle 1, let's do it in the same color. The measure of angle 1 equals 7x plus 4. The measure of angle 1 equals 7x, which is 6, plus 4. So the measure of angle 1 equals 7 times 6 is 42 plus 4 is 46 degrees. Now I'm doing the measure of angle 2. The measure of angle 2 equals 7x plus 4 minus 4. The measure of angle 2 equals 7x plus 4 minus 4. The measure of angle 2 equals 7 times 6 is 42, plus 4 minus 4 goes away, and it is 42 degrees. All right. The measure of angle 3 is 2 times 7x plus 4. The measure of angle 3 is 2 times 7. Make this group purple. X plus, I push that, plus 4. So the measure of angle 3 equals 2 times 42 plus 4. The measure of angle 3 equals 2 times 46. So therefore the measure of angle 3 equals 92 degrees. So 46 plus 42 is 88. 88 plus 92 is in fact 180 degrees. Okay, number 4. One angle measures 9 more than 6 times a number. One angle. The measure of angle 1 equals 9 more than, reading right to left, 6 times a number. So the measure of angle 1 is 6x plus 9. A sequence of rigid motion maps the angle onto another angle that is described as being 30 less than 9 times the number. 30 less than, reading right to left, 9 times a number. What is the measure of the angle in degrees? Okay, so now I know the measure of angle 2 equals 9x minus 30. Okay, so this is just kind of my scratch work. Get that out of the way. So here's the measure of angle 1. Here's the measure of angle 2. Well, let's see. What are we talking about here? A rigid motion. What do we know about rigid motions? The shape doesn't change, therefore the angle's preserved. So I know these two angles are congruent. So that's the key to this problem. So the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. So therefore, sticks x plus 9 equals 9x minus 30. I don't want to subtract 9 over this way. I will get a negative. I try to avoid those so that we don't make a mistake. I will move the smaller one, minus 6x from both sides, and that will leave me with 9 equals 3x minus 30. And then finally add 30 to both sides, and I get 39 on the left. This cancels. 3x on the right. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and I get x to equal 13. I will then plug that in. So the measure of angle 1 equals 6 times 13 plus 9. The measure of angle 1 equals 6 times 3 is 18, carry the 1, 6 and 1 is 7, plus 9. The measure of angle 1 equals 87 degrees. Now this one should also come out 87, but you also must check it to make sure you've made no mistakes. 9, x is 13, minus 30. The measure of angle 2 equals 9 times 3 is 27, 9 and 2 is 11, minus 30. The measure of angle 2 is 117 minus 30, 87 degrees. Lo and behold, they are congruent. Okay. All right, number 5. A right triangle. Boom, 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 boom. A right triangle. is described by having an angle measure, an angle measure. The measure of angle 1 equals 6 less than, reading it right to left, negative 2 times a number. So it would be negative 2x minus 6. Another angle, the measure of angle 2 equals 3 less than negative 1/4 the number. Negative 1/4 x, reading right to left, minus 3. So this is a right angle. So we're talking about angle 1 and angle 2 as being these. And we know that they're complementary, so they add up to 90. So I'm going to take the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals -90. The measure of angle 1 is negative 2x minus 6 plus negative 1/4 x minus 3 equals 90 degrees. I put a parentheses here, minus sign, because of the double signs here. And now we're going to simplify this. So if I have a quarter, I want to change this negative 2 to quarters. So I'm going to get rid of this negative 2, and negative 2 is negative 8/4. Negative 8/4 x minus 6 is the same as negative 2x. So now I can add these. So negative 8/4 plus a negative quarter is negative 9/4. Negative 6 plus a negative 3 is negative 9, equals 90 degrees. Okay, actually I should do that. Keep it color coded. Okay, forgot my x. Negative 8/4 x plus negative 1/4 x is negative 9/4 x. I'm going to add, let me change colors again. I'll do this in black. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. And I'm going to get negative 9/4 x equals 99. To get rid of a fraction, I multiply by its reciprocal, negative 4/9. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So these 4's cancel, these 9's cancel, leaving me with an x equals. This 9 will make the 99 11, and I get negative 44. Okay, now I'm going to solve this. So the measure of angle 1 equals negative 2x minus 6. The measure of angle 1 equals negative 2x minus 6. The measure of angle 1 equals negative 2 times negative 44 is 88 minus 6. The measure of angle 1 equals 82 degrees. The measure of angle 2 equals negative 1/4 x minus 3. So therefore the measure of angle 2 equals negative 1/4. My x is negative 44 minus 3. So the measure of angle 2 equals, this is going to cancel and become 11, and a negative times a negative is positive, 11 minus 3. The measure of angle 2 equals 8 degrees. So 82 plus 8 is definitely 90 degrees. Okay, Last one. We're almost there. One angle, the measure of angle 1, is 1 less than, minus, reading right to left, 6 times the measure of another. So 6x minus 1. The two angles, and let's see, 6 times the measure of another angle. So one angle is 1 less than 6 times the measure of another angle, so the measure of the other angle is just simply x. The two angles are complementary. Complementary, add up to 90 degrees. So I'm going to take the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, and that is going to equal 90 degrees. Substitute in my formula, 6x minus 1 plus x equals 90 degrees. Combine like terms. 6x plus x is 7x minus 1 equals 90 degrees. Add 1, add 1. These cancel. 7x equals 91. Divide by 7, x equals, 7 goes into 9 once, 7 goes into 21 3 times. So the answer is x equals 13. Find the measures of each angle. So now I'm going to find the measure of angle 1, which is 6x minus 1. So the measure of angle 1 is 6x minus 1. The measure of angle 1 equals 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, minus 1. The measure of angle 1 is 77 degrees. The measure of angle 2 equals x. The measure of angle 2 equals 13. We are done. 77 plus 13 equals 90 degrees. Okay, that is the end of lesson 5. Go do your problem set.